Hi, this is Londa. I'm here in my sewing studio, and there are just some times when it would be easier to make a video to blog with you rather than try to write it. And so let me share with you what I'm working on this weekend. Here's one of the pieces that I purchased from marcytilton.com last summer or even last spring. I blogged on it. But anyway, this is a pretty border print printed knit. So instead of this being cross grain on the knit, this is actually lengthwise grain. But I've had this on my body and it feels really good. I barely had enough fabric. I think I bought just 2 yards. So in order for it to fit good around the hip, I'm going to have it split on this side, and I believe I'll put in a godet of this really wonderful lightweight stretchy netting. My inspiration is this tear out from one of my favorite magazines, Soft Surroundings. This top would have cost me $89.95 plus shipping, and I can assure you that I might have at the most $40 plus a lot of fun in this top. The reason I'm taping right now is because using my terrific T pattern, I have created the basic 3/4 length sleeves. I did a pretty good job. I did have to do a center back seam. I lowered the neckline 5/8 of an inch from the jewel neckline, although as it's stretched on here right now, it looks lower than that. But at this point, what I'm doing is draping. I've taken this sheer netting and I doubled it. This is lengthwise grain here. This is the selvage, although I think I'm going to bind it with a scrap of this knit. And what I did was I figured out that the back is going to come around from the shoulder seam about 3.5 inches. It will go underneath here. I started with a plenty deep piece. I believe it was like 17.5 inches or so. So this is probably a yard worth of fabric. So I doubled it lengthwise. So here's double layer of the selvage. I knew I wanted it deep, and I knew I wanted it soft here around the neckline. So I decided to just do 3 tucks right here. Okay. So then here on my duct tape double, I'm just pinning this straight edge piece around this curve. And you see, I just kind of let it do what it wanted to do. This is going to get cut off and it's going to be bound. So once I take this off, well actually while it's on here, I'm just going to cut this netting even with my neckline. So on our inspiration, do you see that this comes down right to the bust level? Well, my bust is plenty big, so I'm going to have it end a little bit above the bust level because I don't want to draw too much attention there. On the other hand, if you wanted to look bustier, you might well want to have it end exactly at your bust. That's just a design decision you would want to make. But this straight grain fabric, even though this netting doesn't take a whole lot, I mean, it just falls nice and pretty. But a straight grain piece, asking it to curve, it has to do these nice soft folds. Now, if this were a woven, this is really actually a knit. If this were a woven, I would undoubtedly be working with a bias piece. So you see, I've just got it pinned in and around here. All right. So you see what's going to happen on the back. And again, since it's black, you can't see it real well. But it's just going to be a pretty capelet type effect. I can, however, tell at this point, and so I can get rid of this excess, that if I cut this off right here where my finger is, and you always want to leave yourself a little bit more than you think you might want. If I cut it right here, I know that everything is laying around the shoulders and around the back in a way that I like. So I'm going to cut it off here at this point. So this is just an example of how you can have fun playing designer and draping as you sew. So I'm going to do a little bit more work and then I'll come back again so you can see what I came up with. So here I've done some more cutting and pinning, and I like the length here. I might work that up a little bit higher, but I like how this is over the shoulder. So I just wanted to stop and show you here. I've taken a couple of little tucks right up here, but now, do you see, in order for this to hang flatter in here, I've got to bring this all up higher, and that's going to get cut off. So now I'm just going to work my way, pinning on around, letting the fabric lay the way it wants to. Now again, every fabric that you use is going to be a little bit different. The grain of it, its weight. That's why in this kind of sewing where you're actually, to a large degree, draping and designing, kind of like they do on Project Runway, this is just the fun that it is. So I just started pinning it as it wanted to lay, and look how much extra I'm working out. So see, I'm going to come along and cut right along here. About at this point, in order to have it lay in some soft folds in here, I started just kind of taking some tucks and pinning those in. I love the way it kind of hugs the shoulder there. And then as I worked my way on around here, again, more came up here. Then I decided that I might want to bind this edge. So I just took a scrap of the plain gray to see how I might like how that looks, and I do. Here on the cutting table, you can see what I have left of the fabric. So I think what I'm going to do is use this solid gray part. It might just have a little bit of hint of this scallop in it. We'll see. And then I got out my bag of precious black buttons, because it seems to me that right in this area is a focal point, that there needs to be a thing right there. Okay, so a thing would be a button. So of all of these things, to me, I've got round shapes, leaves. So I certainly wouldn't want an ecru looking oriental button. I wouldn't want a leather button. I wouldn't want anything straight lined or geometric. This is too big. The frog, maybe. Let's see. These just look a little bit too mod, but this one really caught my eye. Do you see the leaf shape here? As far as the line of this garment, this leaf shape seems to really repeat the leaf in the print of this lace. So this is probably the one I'm going to go with. I have also considered perhaps one of these with a little diamond in the middle. But then I'm thinking to myself, well, if I put, yeah, it's a diamond. If I put a rhinestone there in the middle, then do I have any earrings that I would like with that? And honestly, I don't. So I think I'll probably go with this one of what I have out here, that, or maybe this frog. But we'll just have to see what I end up with. Oh, look at this one. Ooh, that's really pretty. That's an antique button. That's a strong possibility as well. So right now, I think it's going to be between the frog, this gorgeous thing, see the curved lines in it, or this leaf. So now the rest of these can go back into my black bag of my wonderful coveted black and gray button collection. Okay, so here is where I'm at. I found this scrap of the border print. I think binding that edge would be a really cool thing to do, and I like how I've got 1, 2, 3 of these lacy things. I'm really settled on this swirly antique button. I've got enough to bind this back edge. So the next thing I'd have to do, you see, would be to bind these edges. so that then it can all end up in the neckline, and then I need to finish off the neckline. What am I going to use to do that? Well, I've got plenty of width in here, but this is lengthwise grain. So in order to go around this curved neckline, I really have to have crosswise grain with that stretch. So of the scraps that I have left, I may well have to use just some of this lacy stuff, but I think that's good. My idea at this point to balance this here is why I left this side seam open from about the waist on down, and I'm going to cut a double triangular godet shape to go within that seam, and then probably some of the cutoff of this stretch netting, I'll probably add just a little bit of that sticking out the bottom of the sleeves. And now I need to go cook. But my husband vacuumed, so it's my time to cook. I'd much rather sew than try to figure out this iMovie stuff, but at any rate, I'm doing my best to add some commentary. I do like it. I certainly didn't end up with anything very similar to my inspiration garment, but that's okay. I like how the motifs actually are placed on my body. It's quite nice, although you can't really tell all that from this picture. And here's how it ended up at the back. Marginally successful in my book. My experience is that I'm never completely happy with everything I make, and I also observe that we're much harder on ourselves than anybody else would probably be. I have worn this once, and I wore it with really flowy, pleaty type black palazzo pants, and it makes a really nice dressy outfit. I think I will wear it the next time we go ballroom dancing. So this was an exercise in design and draping, and I'm confident that you can see how very important it is to have a mannequin, a dress form, in order to be able to have this kind of fun.